Hi there. Okay, so anyway, I got some more thoughts because sometimes I just, replay conversations in my mind as I'm running errands and I just think of things. But continuing the conversation or the topic about poly, and just as I reflect on different conversations that I've had with different men, actually over the past years, for a few years. And you see it all the time online, you see it on Instagram, you see it all the time. I mean, I had this one guy comment on something about him being a king and, having multiple women and all that kind of stuff. And I do know there are a lot of cultures and people that believe in living that way, and they're okay with it. And also, I understand that it can be smooth, especially when all parties agree with that and everybody knows what their roles are. Everybody is in agreement with their roles, right? Especially if you're if that's part of your culture where you're from, and, the man has the means to take care and provide for financially, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, for the kids and all the women. I mean, that's great. And I mean, so be it. Because that's, I think, what the most important thing is, being honest and upfront with people when you get in relationships. I think that sometimes people get mad at someone who's brutally honest. But for me personally, I appreciate honesty, because when you're honest, I feel like you give the other person respect to make a decision on how to treat you or where to place you in their life. Okay? So to me, it's respectful to be honest, even if it hurts the other person. So for example, let's say a guy tries to talk to me, gets my phone number or wants to talk to me, and I tell him, you're very nice, but I'm not attracted to you. I've said that many times. Okay, and that might sound harsh, but to me, it's like when somebody is approaching you, if I think that if I can tell that they've had to really muster up some courage, or they seem a little bit like this was, I could tell that it was a big deal that they came up and talked to me, this guy or person. And I've always been this way as well, especially in school and stuff. I can remember I definitely try to let them down a little easier. Okay, but some men need that harsh, right away, no, I'm not attracted to you. It's like, I'm not trying to play no games here. I need to just go ahead and tell you this right now, right? And I have literally said that to people from the jump, at the minute that we met. I've even told somebody that I wasn't attracted to his gut. And I'm not perfect, okay, and I'm not looking for perfection, but I know what I like, and, I know what will attract me and things like that, and what I won't like. So I think that being honest about such things, like, hey, I like you, I think you're attractive, and I would like to add you to my Rolodex of women, or I would like to add you to my household of women, or I would like to add you to my list of baby mamas, so that I can, have options when it comes to who I want to sleep with every night, or every other night, or once a month, or whatever, okay? Like, in other words, some people get down like that. And when you're honest, at least, instead of, lying or putting up a mask or faking or trying to get away with something, hiding, being a player and trying to and hiding from your other chick at home or other women or whatever, instead of doing all that, which to me makes life hard and not fun, okay, find the ones that want to play the game like you, who want to play the game of life like you, right? That includes even in relationships. Like I say, when it comes to being in relationships, it's like everybody has a role to play. Everybody has their role to play. Like everybody, it's like, if you, like I say, if you're a female or if you're a man and you think a female should do XYZ, then you need to find a woman who has no problem doing XYZ. Okay? And don't say, I want you to do XYZ, and then when you come home, and she did XYZ, but you are complaining because ABC wasn't done. Okay, if in the beginning, or if when you initially got together, XYZ was enough, don't get mad when ABC is not done, because all you communicated was XYZ. So, AKA, if you married a hoe, or you got with a hoe, okay, or somebody who was, out there with lots of different men, and you knew that and you were okay with that, okay, and you knew that, don't expect her to change after you get married. Don't expect her to have a different set of morals or value system after you get married or get together or whatever. Don't come home and be like upset when you see another man coming out of the room, okay, because obviously you married her that way, right? And also, if you marry someone, or you decide to get with somebody or build a life with somebody that can't cook, okay, she can't cook, she won't cook, she don't want to cook, she don't like cooking, she never did cook for you, but then after you get together, you have kids or whatever, and she's still out here ordering Uber Eats and delivery and burning up whatever she does, she can't cook hot dogs, okay, don't complain, because you didn't express or communicate that cooking was important to you. If you weren't vocal about it. If you're not vocal about it and you don't say whatever, then who's at fault? Who is at fault for that, right? So I think it is best to just be upfront and honest in the very beginning when you start talking with people, right? Or talking with guys or somebody or whatever, when you're dating, in the dating scene, when you're dating, to express what you really want, right? Also, I think it's good to discuss these things because, see, the thing about life that I have learned and I have seen is that life is a series of changes. Life is a series of different types of situations. What do I mean by that? Like, okay, when you're under 21 or under 18, like here in America, you are underage. So you have restrictions, right? You can't drink, maybe you can't drive, or can't stay at the mall without an adult with you, or whatever the case, right? Okay, so you're in a stage of life where you are considered an adolescent or a youth, and you should have proper care, right? Like somebody watching over you. But then there's different stage when you move into that next stage where you have more responsibility, and after 21 where you can drink, you can drive, and maybe you're working, you can work certain jobs that you couldn't work before. Now you can work more hours, or you're in a different situation, right? And so now in that situation and in that stage of life, now that you have more freedom, right, but you do have more responsibilities, and you may actually have bills. But think about it. Let's say when you were underage, let's just say and this does happen, let's just say as a man, let's just say you did happen to get somebody pregnant in your teenagers, like when you were 16 or something like that, right? Okay. And then if you try to provide for that family or whoever you got pregnant or whatever, right, it would be harder at that age versus over 21 simply because of the hours alone, right? Or trying to find a job, or your lack of experience, right, at that time. Now, you might have had the capability and the physical capability of producing a child, but it didn't mean that you were actually ready to take on the responsibility of another child, right? Because today's times are different than back in the day where, all you had to do was have a farm, raise cattle, and you were completely self-sustained on your own, in your own little kingdom, in your own little farm or whatever, right? Things are different now, right? We live in different societies. So, in other words, you have to think about the changes that you go through in life. So, at that time when you were young and you were not experienced and you did not have the expertise or the goals, certain goals or desires or whatever, you hadn't even been alive long enough to even reflect and think about what you want or what you want out of life, right? and you all of a sudden have 1 or 2 kids that have popped out real young. Okay? That person versus the man you will be over 30, over 40, and over 50 is likely going to be very different. It's going to be like 2 different types of men, right? It's going to be like totally different. Okay? Usually, people, as they go through their situations and they learn different lessons in life, and as they get different responsibilities or move through different stages of life and they gain experience, they have different desires, right? So it's like that young person who might have married that young girl that they got pregnant, that man, as he gets older, or vice versa, even for her, same thing, right? You have now different goals or different outlooks or different viewpoints or different even value systems or whatever, and they no longer match who, and you're no longer even reflective of who you were when you were 16, 18, 21, whatever, maybe 30 or whatever, right? Because people change and situations change. When you have little kids, you are spending more of your time and your energy on getting money, providing, you're busier, but as your kids get older and you start regaining more time for yourself, you might decide you want to do something else for work. You no longer want to be a manager at XYZ place, right? And you might decide, you know what, I've always wanted to be, a painter or whatever, or a musician, or I always wanted to write music or something like that. But you can take that pay cut, or maybe you saved up enough money, that you can now sacrifice working that kind of job over here because you no longer have kids that are relying on you, that now you can focus on this. And your spouse or your significant other or your other person may or may not be able to adjust to that change. Or they may or may not want to adjust to that change. They may not like that or even agree with it. Okay? And so, to me, what I have noticed and what I have seen in couples and people that have been able to really withstand the test of time, and that I have seen, there are people that are not only just kind of naturally compatible and have some natural attraction there, but they're definitely able to adjust through the different situations of life, because everybody grows and everybody changes and everybody has different needs at different stages. Okay? And so as that happens, it becomes a test to see if the two of you can stay together. If the two of you can actually communicate as the roles change and become different. It's like, okay, I'm no longer the stay-at-home wife because the kids, or the stay-at-home mom because let's say your kids are older now, your last one just went to college, and now what? Okay, because if you were staying together for the kids and that was it, and you actually didn't have any compatibility or actually like each other or actually have any real attraction, what are you going to do when these kids are older and now you're looking at this other person, they're looking at you like, I don't like you. Boom, what happens? They get divorced. You see it all the time. People get divorced because they don't even, it's like what will end up happening is they will have separate lives outside of each other. Okay? And it's because the little thing that was keeping them even in the same room together, those kids or whatever, they're grown and gone in their own lives. They have their own lives. And so now there's no reason for them to stay together in a room or to stay together in a house or even to look at each other. They have no reason to even pretend to like each other, right? Okay, I see this all the time. And it's because they didn't actually address the real issue way back when, which they probably knew. They probably knew it, like way back when. They probably knew, okay, I really don't like this person, but I knocked her up. But so now I just feel, guilty or whatever. And I just got to do whatever to provide or whatever. But I hear about this and you see this kind of stuff all the time. Okay. And so saying that to say, like, as you change and move through your different situations, if you're with somebody that you actually genuinely like, if there's an actual genuine attraction, if there is a genuine ability to support what the other person does, their value system or you just genuinely like them, it's like, it's kind of like, I like to say it's kind of like some energies, all right? Some people's energy fits perfectly with your energy. It's like if your energy is like this and my energy is like this, and it kind of fits perfect. Okay? And some energies, because they do that, they just naturally gravitate to each other over and over and over and over and over again. Like it's like no matter what, they never get tired of each other. They never get tired of talking to each other. They never get tired of looking at each other. You know, their curiosity about each other stays, the support stays, and they just kind of genuinely like each other. It's just it just happens. Like, and it's really not something you can predict, and it's not something that is common. It's not something that you get with every partner. Just because you are physically attracted to somebody does not mean that you absolutely have a good vibe with them, or that you share good vibes, or that you have good energy with that person. Right? And so just, and if you are attracted to that person and you do get them pregnant, or whatever, you get pregnant by them, then you might even be thinking to yourself, like, I don't actually like them. Like, after a while, or whatever, you might be thinking to yourself, like, why did I have children with this person? I actually don't even want him around, or her around, or whatever, right? Like, that kind of stuff, it actually happens. It happens a lot. And it's not pleasant to talk about, right? Because it's like, it kind of hurts feelings. But I think when people are honest, and when they're honest not only with themselves, but they're honest with each other, with both parties, and honest with the fact that not everybody is really for everybody, okay? At different stages in life, we have different goals. So even, for example, if you were in a poly relationship and, you know, you had a bunch of kids together and everybody had kids running around, and as maybe your kids were the first ones to get older and leave the poly farm, okay, or kingdom, okay, and now you might be thinking to yourself, I want time to myself, or I want to be selfish, or I want a man who is only with me every single night, you know, and, or you just might change. Your values could actually change. It happens, you know, you might feel different because now your situation is different. So when people move through different situations, okay, it's always a question as to whether or not you're going to actually be able to stay together and respect each other and move with each other through each situation. So like I said, even with me, like when I was recently widowed, when I was newly widowed, I was a totally different type of energy. I mean, people used to say to me all the time, randomly in the store, I would get these comments from strangers, men and women, older women too. They would say things to me like, smile, you have such a pretty smile. Oh, smile, you should smile, it would make you feel better. Oh, there's no reason for you to look like that. I had men say that to me all the time. You should smile more, or, you know, whatever. Like, I guess because I apparently looked like I was an extremely sad person. Okay, and I was going through a deep depression because I had just lost my soulmate, my husband, right? My first husband. And so it's kind of like the energy that I presented was one of need, sad. I felt like I was sad all the time, a lot. You know, that was what kind of came out. And, you know, I remember feeling like, and saying to men, like, and I was afraid of attracting anybody during that particular time because I knew that, you know, if I stayed on course, eventually I would move through the emotions and move through the grieving process and get more back to who I naturally was, okay? And that person was very different. So whoever I might have attracted during the sad times of my life, during the times when I might have said to them, I'm widowed, I'm sad, leave me alone, you don't want to deal with me. Some men take that as a challenge. But, sorry, I'm getting a call. But the fact is that that's important, because if that's who you like, or that's the type of woman that you like, when she changes and moves to the next stage of life and she gets stronger, you need to be able to adjust to her new value system, or her new attitude, if you want to say, or her new personality, or just like her new goals or desires or whatever it is, right? Because that's, you know, like, that's like real genuine love and attraction. It means like, okay, that person might change some or whatever, could change a little bit or whatever, and can I, or do I have the ability to grow with them or move with them or be accepting and willing of any changes that they might bring, okay, or they might have. I mean, you see this a lot too, like when older men get married to extremely young women, like really, really, really older, like, you know, if they're in their 40s or 50s and they marry somebody in their 20s. I mean, not saying it can't work at all, because, you know, every and anything is possible if two people actually have the same goal and want that. But the likelihood of her staying the same person, because she's going to change and she's so young and she has so many changes to go through, the likelihood of them two staying together for the long term is so low, right? It's very, very low, just because of how we all become different. We all should grow. We all should change and try to get better, right? And elevate, okay? But it's a matter of, are our goals the same, or do our goals match with that person, okay? So, you know, it's kind of like you have to ask yourself, when you get to a point in life where you're like, okay, I've had my children, I don't want to have any more children. Okay, I've had children or whatever. Or when you have checked off certain things, like you've already checked off working XYZ company or whatever, or, you know, you've been a making murders for however long, many years or whatever, or whatever it is, you've been a mom, you've driven this car, that car, whatever, you know, you lived here, you lived there, or whatever. Okay, so when you've checked off a lot of things, and let's say you're trying to, you know, interact with somebody else, or be in a relationship with somebody else, what you really need to be looking for, in addition to actually having attraction, a real natural attraction, physical attraction, all of that, is the goals. If you guys have the same goals, like, or when I say the same goals, are you on the same path? Are you walking in the same path or in the same way, in the same direction? Can you be of a support to each other? It's like, for example, I mean, just gonna give you like an example. If I'm a singer, which I'm not, but if I was a singer and I married a writer, someone who likes to write music, right? And it's my goal to now produce music through my voice, but I'm not that great at writing, and he wants to produce music through his writing, right? That would mean we are kind of a good match in a way, because we can complement each other and we have the same goals, okay? That's what I mean, okay? Like, you might have the same goal, but you both are good at different things. It's like we both want to open this business or start this business or do this thing. You're good at the marketing and networking, and I'm good at the underwriting and the paperwork and the different things, okay? Right? So it's like we have the same goal, sales, or the same goal, same mission or whatever, but we're good at different parts. So we complement each other, okay? That's kind of what I mean. Now, in a relationship, so when I say goals, like similar goals. So it's kind of like, okay, you want to have similar goals, same goals, or the goals so that we can complement each other or walk in the same path. But also, when it comes to monogamy or being open or whatever, that's something that you have to absolutely discuss with people, right? And I say this because people like to pretend and like to wear a mask. Like, they might say that they believe in God, or they might say that, you know, they go to your Bible study group or whatever, and you might think that they're of the same faith or whatever, but when it comes down to it, they kind of can't keep their whatever in their pants, you know, or they actually do want something else, right? Or at least their actions are showing that they prefer to have multiple women, right? And that's not going to fly with you. So if you two have different outlooks on that, that's not going to work either, right? So you have to kind of look at that. And then what's left? It's like, if you know, like, okay, you're done with this and that or whatever. It's like, for me personally, like I say, for the man's part, and for the woman, what I think a relationship really should bring is, you know, safety and security, emotional safety, emotional security, being emotional, being open, being open emotionally, being able to express how you really feel, and providing, and when I say providing that, I mean actually not being afraid to say I love you. You know, I care about you, I miss you, I'm happy to see you. You know, not having any serious issues or, serious childhood situations that are going to prevent you from being emotionally open. It's like, I get that people do have issues and stuff, and, that's understandable. But I know it's like, if it's going to stop you from being open emotionally in your relationships or in a relationship with me, it's not going to work for me, because that's what I look for. I'm looking, that's what I look for. I stability in that the person is going to be there for you, right? Like, okay, just because you're sick, they're not going to run off and run from whatever, right? So stability, emotional safety, and honesty. Definitely being honest with what you want in a relationship, honest with what you like. Honesty, is absolutely important. And, being able to, actually enjoy that person's company. Actually enjoying that person's company. Like, the person is not a dream killer. That person is not a dream snatcher. That person is not a negative ninny, or someone who's going to stamp my light out or try to make me feel small or be smaller, or, just think that everything I say or do is stupid. Okay. Because this happens, like, okay, or a romance. For me, I like stealing moments out in the day to be romantic. I like to do that. And to me, that makes life exciting. If you can steal little moments out of the workday and be romantic and be loving, is, to me, that's actually way more valuable than coming home and just giving me a paycheck. Okay. So it's like, to me, being open emotionally, being romantic, being loving, being kind, checking on each other throughout the day, just being connected and actually being into each other, where you can feel each other's emotional responses. You can feel each other. You kind of like, it's like you can sense each other. Okay. Those are things that kids have nothing to do with. Families have nothing to do with. Jobs have nothing to do with. Okay. It's like, when you have that connection with somebody, and they provide that emotional safety, security, that warmth, that touch, that soft touch, that kind touch, that desire, that excitement, that excitement. When you actually have that, and I mean, I'm saying it's such little things as like, meeting up with you in a day for a hug. To me, that is golden. To me, that's golden. To me, that's everything. When a man is emotionally available enough to say, I miss you, come over here and give me a hug. Come over to this spot where I'm at, I'm working or whatever, and give me a hug. Like, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's very sweet. And I think that those types of things is showing emotion and showing that, yeah, I miss you. I'm thinking about you. I need you. I want you, whatever. And that kind of stuff to me is way more valuable than buying me a Ferrari, okay? Or buying me a house. Now, I know that different women feel differently, and different women go through different, you go through different stages in life. You go through stages in life where physical things are going to be more important to you, okay? And then there'll be stages in life where you move past that after you collect a bunch of things or whatever, and then you're like, wow, I kind of feel a little empty, or I kind of want somebody who's going to keep my attention. Okay, and so, it's like you've moved through a different stage, and now you are looking for something different. So when two people can adjust to each other's changes, when two people can actually adjust, it is a big deal. That is a very big deal, okay? And I think that is a good thing. That is a positive thing. So a man who is capable of providing protection and foresight, and a little bit of knowledge, some direction, a little direction, and can cover you emotionally, psychologically, and actually be able to nurture and bring out the best in you. To me, That's a good man right there. Especially if he looks good too. If he looks good and you're attracted to him and he's attracted to you and he can do that, to me that is way more than any money he could bring in. Because think about it. Look at P. Diddy. I mean, look at what everybody, thought he was one thing, and look what everybody's seeing who he really was. I mean, we've been known, because the video came out a while ago, but the thing is, look at him. He had all that money. He can provide all those physical things, house, car, whatever, travel, hotels, fancy this, fancy that. But he can't keep his rage under control to not hit her or hit somebody. He can't keep his whatever, his penis in his pants with one girl because he want to have freak offs and he want to, watch other women and all that kind of, like, come on, that's weird. I mean, that's weird. Like, who wants that? I mean, I don't want that. Who actually goes into a relationship and says, yes, I want a narcissist for a husband. I want someone who is going to be fake around other people. And when we go home, I'm going to be scared if he's going to get in a bad mood and fly off the handle on me. Who wants that? Oh, because I get to sleep on my feathered down bed? No. I'll sleep in a garbage can before I deal with a man like that. That's just me personally. I'm sorry, that's me. That's just me. I'm just speaking my mind. That's all I'm doing. I don't know about everybody else over there, but I think the majority of women would rather deal with a man who made a lot less money and who was a lot kinder, loving, softer, gentle, and more caring in general. Just more caring. Right? And like I said, when you can find those things in somebody you're actually physically attracted to and you're able to fulfill each other's needs, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's just amazing. That's amazing. I mean, I think that's a really good thing. And so I do feel like that men are absolutely vital. I'm definitely not I'm not a man eater, man hater, or anything like that. I definitely feel like, men are naturally stronger. Naturally, most men, not always, but, naturally most men are stronger than women, meaning physically. Like, I'm not trying to carry and lift things. I'm not trying to lift no water bottles and stuff like that around the house. I'm not trying to do all that. I can't reach anything because I'm short. Okay. But like in general, like I definitely have no problem with, staying in my lane when it comes to a lot of stuff, because I feel like guys are just, men are just better at fixing cars, doing stuff for cars, and fixing plumbing situations or house situations, or just a lot of things, right? But I think there's a lot of things that me as a woman that I also bring to the table. And I think when two people can bring different things to the table, right? And there's a real genuine attraction and there's a respect for each other's values and each other's changes and goals. They have the same goal, right? But they bring different things together to make that goal happen, and you're evenly yoked in that way. It really it fits perfect. It just fits perfect. Yeah, I realize that is not every day. I know, I've been known. I realized many years ago that is not easy to find. But I do know that it's possible. I do know that it's possible, and I absolutely believe it's possible. And, me personally, I'd rather stay single while I find something like that, than be married to the wrong one or be stuck in a commitment with somebody, the wrong one, or whatever. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, not doing that. So it's just something to think about. Yeah, everybody, it is, different when you are dating at a little older age. It is different when you're not trying to have no more babies or whatever. It is different. But you can, definitely find somebody, especially when you pray. When you pray about it, God sends you what you ask for. He will, especially if you're a good person and you have good intentions and your intentions are true, that to actually be loving, to actually share love and actually be giving and loving and kind, and that's your true motivation, and be a good wife to somebody or whatever. Like, God will present to you the right man He will when you pray about it, But anyway, just my thoughts. Bye.